I'm focusing on saying down with certain policies. And I think I say that because this budget is the first budget that is being delivered in a context in which we are supposedly having a new economic policy. But it's a situation of gear is dead, long live gear. So you know what I mean when I say gear. The government's economic policy, employment and redistribution policy, growth, employment and redistribution policy, which many of us have been at the forefront of resisting. Because in that policy, it didn't emphasize meeting the needs of ordinary people. It emphasized putting money in the already empowered, in other words, in the pockets of the very rich. And when they get richer, it was thought that some of their richness would trickle down to the poor. So that was what gear was. Now we have a new economic policy called the New Growth Plan, which Ibrahim Patel announced the other day. So this budget is designed to give effect to the New Growth Plan. So what is new in the New Growth Plan and how is it reflected in this budget? You probably heard or had reference to Jacob Zuma's State of the Nation address, which is like a first hymn to this budget. It signals some of the things that this budget was going to focus on. So in that, he made a lot of noise about job creation. When we look at the budget, what do we see? We see a 10% growth in total expenditure. So, more money is going to be spent. That's a good thing, right? It depends. It depends, because we can spend that money on tenderpreneurs, or we can spend it on overcoming the housing crisis or the health. Now it's very difficult to know the details, because this speech of his is 30 odd pages, but this is where you've got to look. Now, unfortunately, none of us have had the chance to go into the details of the book, but I do want to highlight some things for us in order to have a discussion about this budget and to have a discussion of where this country is going. And you are going to hear on the radio today, in the newspapers tomorrow, and on television, what a good job Praveen Gordhan has done. It's a balanced budget. It's got money for jobs, and there's 20 billion for companies that are going to invest in creating jobs, and there's 9 billion over the next 3 years for a job creation fund, and there's 5 billion for a wage subsidy for young people. All of this sounds great, right? And that's why people who've looked at the budget are going to say, it's a good budget. I'm saying it's a terrible budget. I'm saying it's a terrible budget because it reinforces all the economic policies that we had in gear.